Hi everyone, Professor Hornbeak here. I'm just going to go over a few design movements, art movements that really affected design, and we'll give you a context of where some of these font choices, illustrations, and overall look and landscape really comes from. So I'm going to start with Art Deco. Art Deco, sometimes referred as just simply Deco, is a style of visual art, architecture, and design that first appeared in France just before World War I. Many things happened in France around that time. Art Deco influenced the design of buildings, furniture, jewelry, fashion, cars, trains, ocean liners, and everyday objects such as radios and vacuum cleaners, as well as advertisements like these. Next, I'm going to talk about de stijl, which is Dutch for the style. It is also known as Neoplastism. This was a Dutch artistic movement founded in 1917 in Leiden. The de stijl consists of both artists and architects and has a very similar to Art Deco style, very geometric look to it. Next is the Bauhaus. It is named after Stedtlich's Bauhaus, commonly known as just simply Bauhaus, was a German art school operation between 1919 and 1933. It combined arts and crafts, fine arts and crafts, and was famous for the approach to design that was publicized and taught. The Bauhaus was founded by a guy named Walter Gropius in Weimar. And the Bauhaus is mostly known for its architecture. This is a very famous building, or is the Bauhaus building, and has become a very big influence within architecture and design. The German term Bauhaus literally means construction house and was understood as meaning school of building. Next is Surrealism. Surrealism is a cultural movement that began in the early 1920s and is best known for its visual artworks and writings. Artists painted unnerving, illogical scenes with photographic precision, created strange creatures from everyday objects, and developed painting techniques that allowed the unconscious to express itself. Its aim was to resolve the previously contradictory conditions of dream and reality into an absolute reality, or a super reality. Next is the International Typographic Style, also known as the Swiss style. It is a graphic design style that emerged in Russia, the Netherlands, and Germany in 1920s, and was developed by designers in Switzerland during the 1950s. The International Typographic Style has had profound influence on graphic design as a part of the modernist movement, and one of the largest creations out of this style, out of the Swiss design, was the font Helvetica, which impacted many design-related fields, including architecture and art, and emphasizes cleanliness, readability, and objectivity. Also, the Romantic era, or the Romantic period, was an artistic, literary, musical, and an intellectual movement that originated in Europe toward the end of the 18th century, and in most areas was at its peak at approximately 1800 to 1850. Monet, the father of Impressionism, Claude Monet is perhaps the most famous of the Impressionist painters. While the movement takes its name from one of his paintings, he was not the first to paint in a style that would become known as Impressionism. He would, however, become the most famous of the Impressionist painters. Romanticism is characterized by its emphasis on emotion and individualism, as well as glorification of the past and nature, preferring the medieval rather than the classical. Next is Futurism. Futurism was an artistic and social movement that originated in Italy in the early 20th century. It emphasized speed, technology, youth, and violence, and objects such as the car, the airplane, and the industrial city. So these are just a few movements that I want you to be aware of. There's several more. This is a fun little illustration that I like to show to represent each of the movements. But and I also have a link to a little clip from one of our favorite movies, Inside Out, Disney's Inside Out, that will explain some of these movements kind of in a humorous way as well, if you want to check that out. But stay tuned, keep watching to learn more about design movements and to learn more about how these movements affect today's design.